Hi everyone, it's Curious Raven. It's really good to be back. It was horrible. I was like, man, I cannot wait to get back and record and be busy. I felt helpless that my laptop was fried, and I'm not saying it's my husband's fault, but God love him, tried to help me and change the battery and accidentally put it in upside down, but it wasn't marked. It was really weird, and it made a huge power surge go through my whole computer, and we had to buy a brand new one, and these things are not cheap. So I was just waiting for that. So I'm just glad to be back. I'm here. Let's get into these stories. I'm a skeptic when it comes to the supernatural and paranormal. For me, it's fun to talk about, watch some interviews, TV, etc. If you ask me if it is possible, I would say, yes, it's possible. I maintain that it's really not probable. We've been in our house going on 5 years. The house sits on a little more than half an acre in South Florida. The area is country-ish, between rural and suburban, but not what you call out boondocks. We do have wildlife, squirrels, of course, raccoons, possums, foxes, and the occasional coyote, fox turtles, hawks, bats, and owls. Once in a while, a gator will show up in the neighborhood on its way to the river. The house was built in the early 80s, but no one has died, and there have been no tragedies. It did have a lot of changes in ownership in the 90s and early 2000s, plus some expansions. A bedroom was added, and the dining and living area were added onto. The biggest change is that I've started working from home. Since shut down basically 3 years, my job transitioned into 100% remote. So I'm at home, often by myself a lot, and sometimes for 15 or more hours. My wife owns her own business, so she leaves early in the morning and often doesn't come home until around 8 p.m. or later. I'm about to list some things happening around my house I just can't explain away with a degree of certainty, and I am open to opinions. 1. On the third or fourth night after we moved in, both my wife and I woke up to screaming because we both dreamed there was someone in the room with us. We brushed it off as one of us having a bad dream and waking the other, which fed the narrative. Has not happened again since. 2. My son moved back in about 2 years ago. One of the nights that his girlfriend slept over, she woke us all up screaming that there was someone looking in through her bedroom window. I walked around outside with a flashlight and a shotgun. It is Florida, but didn't see anything or any evidence of someone being back there. No footprints, and the back gate was still locked. It's only a 6-foot fence, so someone could hop over it if they had to. And it had rained earlier, so there had been someone there. There would have been some indication. Number 3. Everyone in the house at one time or another has gone to get something in the place it should be, but it's not there. Look for it in other places, come back to the original spot, and it's there. It happened to us all. We all comment about it. Number 4. My wife and I were sitting out on the back deck one night, talking and basically relaxing. There may have been a little bourbon involved when we both saw a shape or a shadow move across the back fence. We both turned to each other and said, "You saw that, right?" We assumed it was a small animal or something. As I said, we do have wildlife. The thing is, it didn't seem like an animal. It wasn't scurrying or moving fast, just sort of moving along. Number 5. As I said earlier, I am often home alone for several hours a day. I do catch movement out of the corner of my eye or periphery. The most common occurrences are I'll be lying in bed, watching TV, waiting for my wife to come home, and I'll catch movement in the hallway or around the bedroom door. I'll check it out, but there's nothing there. I'll be working in my office and I'll see something low come in, and I assume it's the dog. I'll look up from the screen to pet her. Dog isn't in the room. I'll go look for her, and she's sleeping on the couch or somewhere else in the house. Number 6. Another thing about the dog is occasionally she will just sit in the middle of the living room and howl, like she is trying to get our attention, but she doesn't want to go out or want food or water. She just howls. We have no clue why. She will also jump up suddenly and stand at the front door like she is expecting someone to come in, but no one is there. She does the same thing when my son comes home. So We're used to the behavior and know what she's doing. On other occasions, no one is coming home. She's just standing there waiting. 7. The most recent thing happened the night before last and really is what is prompting this post. I walked out of the kitchen and caught the movement of the door to my son's room opening. When I turned to look, I saw my wife from the back go into the room and a light went off. I asked out loud, "What are you doing?" And she replied from our bedroom at the opposite end of the house. My wife came out of our room and asked what was going on. And I told her. She walked into the room and turned the light my son usually leaves on. Nothing strange in there except the light being off. And that's about it. No one in the house is frightened or afraid or feels threatened. There's no creepy vibe here. If anything, it's pretty relaxed and a peaceful home. I'm only posting this here because this is where the skeptics are supposed to be. To be honest, some of my explanations seem a little sketchy, like I'm trying too hard. For example, in the last experience I listed, I had been working for 12 hours straight. My brain and my eyes were tired from staring at the computer screen all day. We had just finished dinner, and I had just finished putting our dishes in the sink, and I was headed back to the bedroom when it occurred. After I had regained my bearings, I figured my brain was filling in something my tired eyes were reacting to. But what and why that way, I have no clue. Here's the update. Sunday before last, I couldn't find my wallet. My wife and I looked all over the house for it. The table next to the front door, kitchen table, my desk, the nightstand, and floor around and behind the nightstand, under the bed, etc. I mean everywhere. We had gone out to dinner the night before, so I called the restaurant. They said they hadn't seen it. We searched the house again. At this point, it was a security issue. So I started locking credit cards, canceling debit cards, and credit cards that couldn't be locked, and made an appointment with the DMV to replace my driver's license. As a last resort, we drove to the restaurant we had gone to and talked to the manager and looked through their lost and found. People lose some weird stuff at restaurants, by the way. But my wallet wasn't there. By the end of the next day, I had written off ever seeing my wallet again. I ordered a new wallet, changed the credit cards I had locked to missing, and requested replacement cards, and basically moved on. The next morning, I was in my office, and I had already logged into work, and my wife was getting ready to leave. As she sat on the bed, putting on her shoes, she looked down on the floor, and between the bed and the nightstand, my wallet was right there. Both of us had searched that area before, but neither of us saw it until that morning. Like I said in the original post, the house is peaceful. No one is frightened or scared, but there are some weird things that do happen that none of us can explain. So a few years ago, I went down the ghostly rabbit hole on YouTube and came across videos that briefly showed an apparition on the water in the Thames. And back then, I didn't have a Reddit account. So all I could do was ask questions in the comments, and no one was really helpful. So I kind of just left it alone. Recently, my daughter and her boyfriend went over to London for Old Year's night, and I had never spoken to her about the vids on YouTube. But when she got home, she said the weirdest thing happened when she was taking photos the next day. Although she was very disappointed to not have caught it on camera, but she said it was there for a second or two and no more, and then it flickered away, like a neon sign does when it's broken. So I'm back down the rabbit hole. Nothing new has been downloaded. But anyways, here's a question. Has anyone seen it? Got any pics or videos of it? Or even a backstory of it? I'm fascinated to find out where she came from, who she was, anything along those lines. Fingers are crossed to someone that might know something and can enlighten me. My question is, has anyone ever seen the Thames Angel or can point it out to me on a website about it? Thank you. Oh, I gotta wait for that to stop because it's so loud. Hey everyone, this has been on my mind since it happened. New to Reddit, so forgive me for mistakes in posting this. I am Mel, 20, and me and my buddies enjoy late night walks on the trails within the various conservation areas in my region of southwestern Ontario. Late last week, we decided to check out an area called Pleasant Valley. To my knowledge, this area has a deep-rooted history with the Underground Railroad, Indigenous people, as well as the War of 1812, if I am not mistaken given its proximity to Lake Erie. We entered the woods at about 2 a.m., and immediately upon entering, I was overcome with a bad feeling, and after walking for some time, the feeling progressively worsened until we reached 2 bent trees and an X over the path. My one buddy pointed out the fact that it's bad juju to go underneath, and we should just call it a night, as we all felt watched. As soon as we turn around and start to head back, the entire forest dramatically became more quiet. Then we all hear a loud, distinctively human whistle behind us. Almost like how could you call a dog? Almost like how you would call a dog over. There's no way anyone could have been out there at that hour, and there's no homes in close enough proximity for someone to be out and about. We all ran, and I was honestly terrified, and my friends were all relatively big guys, and we are all comfortable in the woods, so it takes a lot to get us running. Any ideas? This next one is about Djinns, and I want to mention that this person has an amazing blog. Please go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. To those who have never heard about them, it might feel a bit uneasy to hear there is an entirely different species living among us, acing us in matters pertaining to physical strength. I'm talking about Djinns, a creation much attributed to exist in the Islamic folklore, even though they have existed way before the advent of Islam. Where are they now? Djinns have long been here since before humanity even set foot on this world. You gotta shake off the whole theory of evolution to absorb this. Living in clans and colonies, they used to roam the continents, salvaging the resources of the earth until humans arrived. According to Islamic religious texts, Djinns were concealed from humans and instructed to live in mountains, valleys, and all the places of wilderness. They were made to leave all other places for humans, for they were decreed to dwell on earth from henceforth. According to some resources, human eyes have a membrane that prevents us from seeing them at will. Djinns still live among us, concealed from our vision. On the contrary, they can choose to reveal themselves to us at will. Not fair, right? I know. What do they look like? According to Islamic religious text, humans were created from clay, whereas the entire species of Djinns were created from smokeless fire. They are formless creatures, since fire cannot be molded into a definite form. They can assume any shape or form. While we humans take pride in our intellectual abilities, the unique abilities of Djinns include their strength. Djinns are mighty strong and have a great heights. Their facial features vary in various races. Yes, Djinns have different races among them too. A common physical feature is that most of them have hooves instead of regular feet and horns on the top of their heads. Do Djinns possess supernatural powers? Apart from enormous strength, Djinns also have supernatural powers, of which one is, of course, shape shifting. They can transform themselves into any shape or form. Based on accounts of Muslim scholars of Baghdad, Cairo, from 11th century, Djinns mostly assume forms of snakes, lizards, dogs, or other canines. Some Djinns have abilities to control weather over a small area, summoning storms and lightning. They are said to have the ability of moving extremely fast, covering hundreds of miles in seconds. The most disturbing fact that Djinns can possess human bodies. Yep, folks, better watch out for yourself. Are Djinns immortal? Seems like even after all those perks, Djinns do have weaknesses, the greatest of them being death itself. Djinns have been known to live hundreds of years. No, vampires have a foe in town, but they can be killed. They can die in fights and they can die of old age. How do they live? Just as humans, Djinns have learned that by living together, they can sustain themselves, much like a normal human city or colony. Djinns have their own cities and colonies in mountains, jungles, and in valleys. Nowadays, they are also often found dwelling in abandoned human homes. The fact that a house becomes haunted after being left uninhabited for some time is because of the nomadic Djinns who have taken over. Djinns have religions like humans. They have races as humans, and they speak different languages just as we humans do. So, you might encounter an immigrant Muslim Djinn from Syria in the United States talking to an American Djinn who is a Christian or a Jew. Amazing, right? Much like human interactions, Djinns also interact and communicate with other Djinns of other regions, exchanging goods and information. They even travel to each other's places. What do they eat? According to scriptures, Djinns eat charcoal and burnt wood. They also have tamed animals, which are definitely not your average cows, goats, camels, etc. The Djinns animals have been known to eat filth and animal droppings, modern paranormal activities, and Djinn. Now that we have a background about Djinns, you might as well try to fit this creation in modern definitions of cryptids, demons, ghosts, etc. According to my theories and research, I believe Djinns and the entity demons. Djinns also resemble the entities described in several Native American folklore, such as the all-famous Skinwalker. Skinwalkers have also been seen as an overly large-sized canine, which we know is a form assumed by Djinns. Most of other American legends, such as the Mothman or the Wendigo, might as well be Djinns. But why America? North America was the last continent to be discovered for European settlers. North America was just plain wilderness with only a few Native Americans living there, as compared to the vastness of the continent itself. Much of the space was untouched by human hands, which makes perfect sense as to why majority of this species choose to inhabit the Americas. As our numbers are increasing day to day, we have been provoking them by taking their territories. Hence we find examples of curses over certain pieces of land in Native American folklore, which exist to this day. These places have all kinds of strange and paranormal phenomenon occurring there to ward off humans. Y'all please go check out their blog. I'm telling you, this was an amazing piece of information, and it kind of really, for me, put a lot of things in perspective. It makes you think. One night I laid outside my old home. First I went to go put a chair in the woods out of curiosity. I watched it endlessly. To my surprise, at 12 o'clock, Satan came to visit me. I wasn't expecting any company. He sat on the chair and rocked it while he watched me with those red eyes. I froze, could not move, let alone take a selfie. Then I broke out of shock and stood up, and boom, it was coming after me full speed. I ran and slammed into the door, screaming endlessly. I ran up the stairs, hugged my Bible, and told God never abandoned me. I looked out the window. There he was, just watching me. I prayed all night till the morning came, and that's when I finally could sleep. Good night, and know they are out there.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross